I'm very excited to talk today. We've had such a good turnout, so I'm excited that many of you are able to join us today. As Fabrice said earlier, I'm going to be talking about the tinnitus journey to relief and really going through each step of the process to help you better understand what your road to success might look like. Um, as Fabrice had mentioned, I am an audiologist. I have worked in the tinnitus community for about 15 years, both helping people work through their tinnitus as well as help build digital solutions such as we are here today with MindEar to have helped thousands of people who are struggling with tinnitus around the world. So with no further ado, I'd like to get started and just want to first off, we're going to go over the agenda and what you can expect from today's webinar. The first thing we're going to just spend a moment on is to talk about how each person is unique. And it's important to understand when I go through the stages today of the tinnitus journey, that they may apply differently to each and every one of you. And that's perfectly okay. And that's very normal because everybody reacts differently to their tinnitus, experiences their tinnitus differently, and thus will learn to manage their tinnitus somewhat differently from each other. The good thing is we're going to talk about tools that can help everybody. How you incorporate those tools into your own life will be unique to you on your journey. Then we'll talk pretty in depth about the different stages. There are 4 stages of the MindEar tinnitus journey to relief. We're going to talk quite a bit about that. And then we're going to dive deep into something called the habituation process, which many of you may have heard before. And we'll dive into what exactly the habituation process is, what those steps are, and what that process looks like. And then the second half of the presentation, we're going to talk about the tools that MindEar can provide you during this journey. And that can include things like sound therapy that many of you here today probably have used or are using to help manage your tinnitus. We'll talk about the option of talking to a tinnitus coach to get further guidance and some additional support on your journey. We'll also talk about a premium sound device that we're offering with a special for the month of November. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the MindEar app itself. And for those of you who have not had a chance to download it, hopefully this will inspire you to do that, as this is a great tool for you to use wherever you are. It's a great companion on the go. And the goals of today are essentially 2 things. I hope each and every one of you can walk away understanding the tinnitus journey to relief a little bit better and a little bit more in depth than you may have before, and also help you identify and incorporate some of the helpful tinnitus tools that we're going to talk about today and how they may help you manage your tinnitus during this journey. And as Fabrice said, if you do have any questions as we're going, please type them into the Q&A portion of the chat. And then we'll get to those after and have a nice open discussion about those. So everyone's journey is unique. As I mentioned, not everyone experiences tinnitus the same way, and thus not everyone will manage it exactly the same way. One of the most important things to remember is that it does take some time to learn to live or habituate with your tinnitus. For some people, they can find pretty quick, immediate relief within just a matter of days or weeks. However, that's not the average person. The average person probably takes a few months, somewhere about 3 to 6 months, to really start learning to live and habituate to their tinnitus. But for others, it can take a year and sometimes even longer. It really just depends on your unique situation. But one thing that is key is commitment and perseverance. Seeing the process through, as difficult as it may feel at times, is one of the most important things to finding success. So for the next few minutes, we're going to dive into what the MindEar tinnitus journey to relief looks like. And as I said to begin with, there are 4 stages of the tinnitus journey. Stage 1 is what we call the awareness stage. Stage 2 is the allowance stage. Stage 3 is the acclimation stage. Stage 4 is the achievement stage. And our goal is to hopefully get as many people as possible to stage 4, which is the achievement stage. But let's take a deeper look into what each one of these stages entails. Stage 1, the awareness stage. You've all probably already been through this stage, and some of you may be here today because you're currently in this stage where you've just started to notice your tinnitus somewhat recently, or maybe it's a few weeks or a month now, and it's starting to irritate. It's starting to become a frustrating, distressing sound in your life. And in this stage, it's very common to look for information, to search for answers, to search for causes. But one thing that can be really challenging is, I'm sure many of you today have typed in tinnitus, tinnitus relief, tinnitus help online, and you're presented with literally thousands of different places that you can look, from articles to quick remedies to homeopaths to informational videos. And it can be very challenging to understand what's real and what's not, what's proven to help and what's not. And what we hope to do and provide to you is a platform and a team of coaches that can provide you the information that is truthful and is based on evidence-based practice. So scientifically based methods is what we're looking at here. And in this stage 1, some of the best steps that you can take are: 1, educating yourself with credible information. So by being here today, this is a great first step, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions that you may have. Also, talking to a professional. If you haven't talked or met with a hearing healthcare professional, or even just a doctor, a general practitioner, to talk about your tinnitus, or if you experience any hearing loss or dizziness or anything like that, that is an essential first step, because that will help to understand if there are any underlying conditions, and you might be able to get some answers as to why you might be experiencing some of these things. Many of you have probably used sound therapy. Stage 1 awareness is a great time to start incorporating sound therapy into tinnitus management, because this is an easy thing to do, especially in today's world with all the technology that we have. You can stream from your smartphone or your tablet using platforms like Spotify or a sound library such as the MindEar app. So lots of ways to deliver sound therapy very easily. And that's a great place to start. And another step many people take in this beginning stage, as they learn more about tinnitus, is that tinnitus can oftentimes prompt stress and anxiety. And it's also the reverse, meaning that stress and anxiety can also make one's tinnitus more perceivable. It could exacerbate it, make it more prominent and harder to ignore. So incorporating relaxation exercises, whether that's deep breathing exercises or guided meditations, or whatever it is that you might find that helps you relax, is a great way to help de-stress and reduce some of that anxiety, and in turn, hopefully help notice your tinnitus less. Stage 2 is the allowance stage. And this is a very difficult, if not the most difficult stage for many people, because this is where the acceptance of living with tinnitus becomes a reality. And that's an important first step, is to truly be honest and acknowledge that it is something that you're living with. It's something that you're struggling with, and to seek help from the proper professionals, as we talked about in stage 1. And it's not uncommon to feel anxious. It's not uncommon to feel lost. It's not uncommon to feel that there may be no hope. But what we hope to do today is to debunk some of those myths, because there are lots of things that you can do to improve your daily quality of life. We're going to talk about a few of those a little bit later on. In this stage, as I mentioned, it can be a very challenging stage, but this is typically where the habituation process gets kickstarted. And what you'll be able to do is continue to use those relaxation exercises we mentioned. You'll continue to use sound therapy. At this point, you may have already identified which sounds you like best, which sounds may not help that much, and you can really start to narrow down what sounds help you best. And that goes back to what I said earlier, that everybody's journey is going to be a little bit different, because sounds that one particular person likes doesn't mean that those are the same sounds someone else is going to like for their tinnitus. A really good example of that is the myth that everybody loves classical music and that it's relaxing, but that's just not true. There are many people who don't find classical music very relaxing. And in fact, some people can find it very stressful depending on the piece that you're listening to, right? So it's okay to find things that work for you. And in this stage too is really where you'll start to experiment and discover a lot of those things that happen to work for you. This is where sessions with a tinnitus coach might start, if that's something that you think might be helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, with different devices that you have, consider additional sound therapy sources. So by that, I mean, you don't just have to stream them to your earbuds. You can stream them to a Bluetooth speaker when you're going to sleep. Maybe that'll help going to sleep as opposed to wearing headphones or earbuds in your ear when you go to sleep, which may not be very comfortable. Things like sound pillows are also helpful when you sleep. So there are other ways to deliver sound therapy than just putting on a set of headphones or wearing a set of earbuds as well. Now, we talk about kickstarting the habituation process. Well, what does that process actually look like? And what exactly is habituation? So habituation, kind of in its most simplest definition, is getting used to a stimulus in your environment. We habituate to things all the time. In fact, now that I mention wearing a shirt, we probably all can feel our shirt on our bodies because I just mentioned it and now everyone's paying attention to it. But you might not have been really aware of the feeling of your shirt for the last few hours because you've habituated to it. You put it on early in this morning and then other things take priority in life. And now somebody mentions your shirt and you can feel your shirt, but you habituated throughout the day. There are many other things people habituate to. Think about people who live in noisy neighborhoods. Many people habituate to the sound of a train going by or yard work being done in the neighborhood. And you habituate to those sounds because they're not sounds that are important for what it is that you're doing. And you learn to just kind of ignore it and it blends into the background. So that's really what we're trying to achieve with habituation is we want to make that tinnitus sound less intrusive, less annoying, and have it blend into the background like many other sounds, as opposed to being such a prominent, focused sound in our minds. So what does this process look like? Well, the first step is you start to pay more attention to it. You hear this distressing sound. You're not sure why it's there. You have questions that you may not be able to get answers to, which can lead to a lot of frustration, can lead to a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And you start to pay more attention to it, right? What's going on with me? You're trying to figure things out. It's much like getting a bug bite, right? We all want to itch. We all want to scratch that itch, but the more we scratch it, the more it itches. And it's a good way to think about tinnitus as sort of an itch in the brain. So the more we pay attention to it, well, we start getting a reaction to it. And that reaction typically can be negative for a lot of people. So what do we want to do is we want to help reduce that reaction. And there are different ways we can do this. One of them is incorporating sound therapy. Another one is using what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which really changes the way we think about things. And by changing the way we think about things, it changes the way we behave towards them. And there are other exercises, as we mentioned earlier, relaxation, deep breathing, meditation, that can also help. And by reducing those negative reactions, which takes some time, we can reduce the way we react and respond to the tinnitus so that when we hear it, we understand it's pretty harmless. It's not causing us any physical pain or doing anything physically harmful to our bodies. It's creating more of a frustration. And we want to change the way we react to it and help push that sound into the background. And that's essentially by saying we want to reduce the disruption of the tinnitus. And we want to start changing that negative reaction to the neutral reaction where the tinnitus is now in the background, much like the yard work that's being done across the street, or maybe the hum that you hear from your laptop or your refrigerator that you don't really pay attention to on a daily basis. And then ultimately that gets you to the point of habituation, where you've now habituated to the stimulus in your environment, in this case, the tinnitus. And like many other stimuli in the environment, it fades into the background It's still present. It still exists. It's still there, but we're choosing not to react to it in the same fashion. We're choosing to put our focus in other places that are more meaningful to us. Now, like I said, this is a process that takes time. Typically, it can take months for the average person, if not even a little bit longer. So it's important to see the process through to get through stage 3, which is this acclimation stage, where we're now beginning to adapt. The process of habituation is taking place, and the tinnitus is becoming less noticeable, less bothersome. And this can be achieved through a variety of techniques that we've already discussed, which is continuing relaxation exercises, continuing into the sound therapy that you know works. You might want to use sound therapy more frequently. That's completely up to you if you think that that's something that works. Open yourself up to other things that may help as well. And all of this hopefully gets you to stage 4, which is the achievement stage, the top of the mountain, if you will. And to sum this up, this is a place where you are now in control of your tinnitus. You might still hear it, you might still experience it, but you don't react the same way, and thus you behave differently. And now you can get on with your daily life and go about doing the things that are more important to you. Doesn't mean you won't still use many of the tools and techniques that you've adopted along the way. In fact, you should continue to use them. These may be helpful for many years to come. And if they keep helping you, keep using them. There's no set limit or time as to how much you can use this. And in fact, if you think about sound therapy is used for many reasons beyond just tinnitus. You know, as someone who works remotely, I'll often have some sound in the background to eliminate some of those background sounds that I had mentioned earlier, because I do find them disruptive. So I'll have some low-level music on in the background that acts as sound therapy for me, not because I have tinnitus, but because it helps me focus and concentrate. So sound therapy can be used for lots of different things, including tinnitus. But ultimately, where we want you to be with stage 4 is feeling a sense of you are now in control of your tinnitus. Your tinnitus is not in control of you. That's where we want. We want to flip the script on that. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to put them in the Q&A section, and I'll be happy to get to them a little bit later on. But we're going to move on to the MindEar platform. And how does the MindEar platform provide the tools, features, and benefits to accomplish the things that we just talked about? Well, what we know from science and from a variety of research studies that have been done is there's essentially 2 approaches that work best for tinnitus management. And this is what the MindEar platform is based off of. One of them is sound therapy, by providing an acoustic and audio component to help disrupt the sound of the tinnitus, along with some type of tinnitus coaching to learn the different ways, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, relaxation exercises, meditations, to help learn how to use those tools to help manage your reactions to tinnitus as well. And by combining these 2, the research has shown that many, many people can find relief from their tinnitus. So let's break those 2 up and go a little bit further into what each one is. What is sound therapy? In its most simplistic definition, it's just using sound to help your overall well-being or quality of life. But in regards to tinnitus, it aims to provide relief by using an external sound to help sort of break or mask the internal sound of tinnitus. And we often do this by introducing pleasant and soothing sounds as opposed to using harsh and sounds that may cause discomfort for obvious reasons, right? You don't want to use a sound you don't like or a sound you find uncomfortable to try and get rid of an already uncomfortable sound. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. So we want to identify sounds that you like in order to use for sound therapy. And all we're really doing is raising the volume of that sound therapy enough to where you might still hear your tinnitus, but it's not as prominent, and you can move on about what it is that you're doing. And that's what you see displayed there in that graph on the right-hand side. Now, as I mentioned, sound therapy, isn't usually used in isolation. It's usually part of a comprehensive treatment plan, which includes the tinnitus coaching that we talked about, as well as some of the stress management techniques that we had mentioned. And then over your time, your brain will adjust to hearing this new sound, the sound therapy that you're using, while reducing those negative reactions and behaviors to the tinnitus. A really good example of what sound therapy is think about it as a candle in a dark room. So the tinnitus is represented by the candle, and the sound therapy will be represented by the background. Okay. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is decrease the contrast between the tinnitus and the sound therapy. So if you're looking at a candle in a dark room, the flame of that candle is very bright, stands out because it's a big, strong contrast against the darkness of the background. But if you flip on the light switches and now you see you're in a restaurant, that candle in the middle of the table still exists, but it doesn't stand out as much. It's not as prominent because the background now is equally lit. So you can choose to focus on the candle, or you can choose to focus on many other things. This is the process that is called habituation. So how does sound therapy help manage tinnitus? There's a lot of benefits. It can shift your focus away from the tinnitus. It can improve focus and concentration. It can help reduce stress and anxiety, especially if you use calming, soothing sounds, which can also promote relaxation and well-being. It can even help improve sleep quality. As I mentioned, you can use sound therapy at night when you're trying to fall asleep. It's non-invasive, and it's easily accessible and portable. And we'll talk about sounds you have available through the MindEar app. But like I mentioned, you can also use music, podcasts, audio books. All of those can be used as sound therapy as well. As we discussed earlier, the research shows that sound therapy plus tinnitus coaching is more effective, than sound therapy alone. So how can tinnitus coaching play a role in this? Oh, sorry, I think my computer's freezing up here for a second. Here we go. So a tinnitus coach can be a partner in helping you navigate this journey, as well as the stages of habituation. So you don't have to do it alone. Many of you, like I said earlier, may not have even talked to a doctor or an audiologist yet. And this may be the first step that you're taking. And that's a great first step. And you don't have to do it alone. There are platforms like MindEar out here that can help. They can provide emotional support, someone to talk to. Tinnitus can be very difficult to describe to other people because other people can't hear it. So they just kind of have to listen to what you're saying. And it's very hard for someone to be in your shoes and have that empathy if they don't experience it themselves. So talking to someone who understands what tinnitus is can be very, very helpful. Becoming educated and understanding what tinnitus is not, things that you can work on versus things that you probably shouldn't have to really worry about. And we can also help provide expert advice and tips and answer some of the difficult questions you may have, such as in the Q&A a little bit later. We can help in those processes of changing negative thoughts to help reduce the stress, the anxiety, sometimes the fear that might accompany tinnitus. And we can also help promote coping strategies, giving you tools and techniques to help you manage your tinnitus, to help you cope with these changes that have taken place in your life. So if talking to a tinnitus coach is something that you think could be helpful for you, we do offer that service. And there's a couple of different ways in which you can access it. You can put your phone camera up to the screen and scan that QR code. You can also email us at contact@mindear.com, or you can visit our website at mindear.com and you're able to book an appointment through that. Again, not everyone will feel the need to have a tinnitus consultation with one of our tinnitus coaches, but if this is something you think could be helpful to you, we do offer this service. Another option, another tool that we offer on the MindEar platform to help manage your tinnitus is MindEar's premium sound device. Some of you may be familiar with the term a sound generator or a sound masker. This is very similar in terms of what the sound device is. And one of the benefits of using one of these premium sound devices is, unlike headphones or earbuds, which cover or fill your ears, these leave your ears open and allow you to enjoy sound freely all day long. So how can MindEar's premium sound device benefit you? One of the things that the device has is something called Zen sounds. And these are pleasant and soothing chime sounds, which hence the word Zen, almost meditative in a sense, to help provide that background sound therapy that we talked about. And because these are what we call open instruments, meaning they just have a thin tube with an open piece that goes in your ear, it allows your ear to stay open. So there's no blocking of the ear canal, which allows you to have uninterrupted communication all day long, unlike earbuds or headphones that you have to take off if you want to talk to somebody. These are good devices to help kickstart the habituation process that we talked about by providing the sound therapy. And they're comfortable and discreet. They're small, they're very difficult to see, and those thin tubes are clear and look very opaque against the skin. They also do come with a remote control for easy management and discrete adjustments. So it's not something you'd have to reach up and play around with. You could use the remote control to make some adjustments. And they're part of the holistic care package, right? So this is the sound therapy component that, if you're someone who thinks you could benefit from this, is an option that we offer. And this, in addition to talking with a tinnitus coach, can provide a very powerful platform to help you take those steps in managing your tinnitus. So the Zen programs, as I mentioned, these are soothing tones, chime-like. Let's see if I can. Not sure I can play it on this. No, I don't think the audio is working on that. But like I mentioned, there are multiple Zen listening programs that come custom fit into the device, and then you can choose the programs that work best for you. And as I mentioned, there are some pros and cons of using a premium sound device versus earbuds or headphones or even Bluetooth speakers. So with the premium sound devices, you have the open communication all day. It is sound therapy that helps facilitate habituation. Very portable. You can put them on your ears and forget about them most of the day. They do not have wireless streaming. That is one function that they do not have. But they are comfortable to wear. They have good battery life that you probably have to change out once a week or so, and very, very discreet. Whereas earbud and headphones, you have to put them on, take them off, depending on what it is you're doing. They do help facilitate habituation, but not to the level of a premium sound device. Clearly, they're very portable. We all walk around with them many times. And obviously, they have wireless streaming capabilities, but they're not necessarily comfortable to wear all day long. And batteries usually need to be charged somewhere between 6 and 10 hours after they've been being used. And they're a little bit harder to hide, right? And depending on what it is you're doing, it may not be the best fit for what you're trying to do. With Bluetooth speakers, obviously most of us don't communicate through Bluetooth speakers. Again, it can help facilitate habituation, but because it's in the free field and you'd have to carry it with you, probably not the optimal device for that. They're portable in the sense that you can move around with them, but they're limited in terms of their portability because you can't use them in a lot of different environments. Sure, you can take it to the beach or a picnic, but you're probably not going to take it into a meeting room at work. Wireless streaming, clearly, all day comfort in the sense that you don't have to wear them. You just kind of put and place them wherever you want it. Battery life, most of them, again, need to be charged within about that 6 to 10 hour. And clearly they are a little more bulky. So not the best product to use all day long, but a very useful product, meaning a Bluetooth speaker when you're trying to go to sleep, or something along those lines. So they definitely have their place. It's just important to know when to use which device. So if a premium sound generator is something that you think might help you, you might be wondering, well, am I a candidate? Well, there's a couple of things on the checklist that you have to look at. One, are you bothered by tinnitus? I imagine most of you are. You're here today. Um, Again, have you had a consultation with a medical doctor or an audiologist? If you have not, that's definitely the first step you want to take. Not reporting any major hearing difficulties. If you haven't had your hearing checked, that's something we highly recommend, and obviously an audiologist can do for you. Um, Good ability to handle small devices. These are very small, discrete devices and use very small size 10 batteries. So fine dexterity is needed. If you were to drop a battery or something like that, that can be very difficult to find. And living in the US, although we might make certain exceptions depending on where you live in the world. But these essentially are the criteria for being a candidate for the premium sound generator. And you can also check your candidacy and schedule a 15-minute free consultation with one of our tinnitus coaches. And we'll also talk through with you about whether or not you're a candidate. You can also become a member of the MindEar community with a premium subscription, which comes with the purchase of that device. You can also register on our website if you want to be part of the community. But what's included in our premium subscription are 2 of the premium sound devices, so 1 for each year. You get 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with our tinnitus coach team. You get full MindEar app access, so you don't have to pay the annual fee. You get the app free with full access to it. You get the monthly newsletter, and you get exclusive invites to webinars just like this. And the exclusive MindEar member special for the month of November is $14.95 USD, and that special goes through the entire month of November. So I'd like to spend a little time on the MindEar app itself and talk about some of the features and benefits. And one thing I will mention is in the coming weeks and months, you'll probably see a lot of changes to the app as we move forward. So as you start to see updates to the app, we advise that you do those updates because we're making some drastic changes to the app that are only going to make the app experience more enjoyable and more effective for you guys as well. So one thing is the soundscape library that's offered in the MindEar app. And this is a collection of adjustable soundscapes. And by adjustable soundscapes, what I mean is each soundscape is comprised of 5 individual sounds. You have the ability to adjust each one of those individual sounds so that you can customize the soundscape to your liking. And these soundscapes can be streamed to many devices, and this can be the sound therapy component that we've talked about a number of times today. So there's an extensive sound library in there with very nice graphical visuals as well. So if you haven't, be sure to check out the Soundscape library and play around with it and find the sounds that work best for you. We also offer a variety of relaxation exercises and mindfulness exercises, and these can be used to help manage stress and any anxiety that you might feel throughout the day. And these are guided exercises. So you'll be listening to someone talk you through. Some of these you might even, just sit back and listen and let the person guide you through this entire journey. They can last anywhere from about 3 to 5 minutes, upwards of about 10 to 15 minutes. So you can navigate and pick the exercises that work best for you, and you can listen to them as many times as you'd like. So because each journey is unique, the MindEar app is a great tool because it allows you to choose what works best for you. You can choose the soundscapes and adjust those soundscapes according to your liking. You can go through the different exercises that are available and find the ones that work best for you as well. So the MindEar app is a great place to really get that customized, unique journey that you're looking for. And if you haven't checked out our website, this is another good resource that's available to you. We have a lot of blogs where you can learn more about tinnitus in the resources section of the website. You can even book one of those appointments with a tinnitus coach directly from the website. You could start a free MindEar trial from the website. And it's just a great place to start your tinnitus journey by learning information about what tinnitus is, and really just informing yourself about what some of your next steps might be. So if you haven't visited us, I highly recommend giving MindEar.com a visit and a look through. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for their time. And as Fabrice mentioned earlier, although there is no current cure for tinnitus, there are tinnitus management strategies and techniques that have helped many people find relief. And we're hoping we'll be able to take a few of you on that journey with MindEar. And we're here to help you. That's what we're here for. So as we open it up to the Q&A here, again, I want to thank everybody for their time, and I hope you were able to get some valuable information from today.